the court. And going into direct examination by plaintiff's attorney. Plaintiff's attorney, Ms. Bloomfield. Bloomfield. Defense attorney, Ms. Walsh. Walsh.
Do we have any airflow in there?
Okay, starts with the court. Ready? Call the case of Joe Carr. State your appearances. Lori Walsh appearing with Mr. Carr, who's present. Susan Bloomfield on behalf of the people. People are ready to proceed in this matter. Call your first witness. People call Officer Downing. Please come forward, officer. Raise your right hand. Take a seat, officer. Tell us your first name, please, and spell your last name. My name is Rodolfo Downing, R-O-D-O-L-F-O. Last name, D-O-W-N-I-N-G. How are you employed? I'm employed by the San Jose Police Department, City of San Jose. How long have you been a police officer with the police department? Over 6 years. And in your employment as a police officer, have you had training and experience in the recognition and identification of controlled substances, particularly phencyclidine? Yes, I have. And can you tell us briefly what that training consists of? That consisted of approximately 40 hours block of instruction and in general narcotics at the academy initially. And throughout the years, we have received training with the department, what is called continuous police training. Now that covers about a week every year, and during those blocks, we receive approximately 1 hour of instruction in different drugs, narcotics. Throughout the years, I have made several arrests, approximately 150 arrests and contacts with individuals being under the influence of PCP. And I also, I think, qualified previously in prior cases at municipal court in the recognition or as an expert in the field of PCP. Have you also learned what constitutes usable quantities of PCP? Yes, I have. Were you on duty Saturday, January 6th of 1990? Yes, I was. At approximately 1:30 a.m., did you have occasion to be in the area of 2968 Betsy Way, B-E-T-S-Y, in the city of San Jose, county of Santa Clara? Yes. Is there anyone in the courtroom today who was also there at that time on that date? Yes. Could you please point to where that person is sitting and state what the person is wearing? The individual that was present at the time is at the defendant table, wearing green shirt, green pants, hair, mustache. Let the record indicate an in-court identification of Mr. Carr. Where was the defendant when you first saw him? He was in front of the residence, right in the front lawn area. And did you notice anything about him in particular? At the initial contact, or when I first saw him, he was just standing there. When I came to a stop in the patrol car I was driving, the defendant looked at me and also his partner. And when you say his partner, what do you mean? There was another person with him. Was there anybody else with you? Yes. And who was that? Officer Metcalf. And when he looked at you, what happened next? As I was coming to a stop, both the defendant and his partner, objection, Your Honor, mischaracterization of the person with defendant as a partner. Just tell him, just say the other person with him. Mr. Carr and he had a companion. They started walking away from us. And what, if anything, did you notice about them as they walked? They both had a very unsteady, slow walk. This is very characteristic. This type of walk is very characteristic of individuals being under the influence of PCP. Their body movements are very rigid and slow, robot-like movements. And what did you do then? I got out of my patrol car and started walking towards them. I followed Mr. Carr a few steps. And where did Mr. Carr go? He was walking westbound through the right front yard as you face the residence towards a car that was parked there. What did he do then? At that time, I was about 6 steps behind him, and I saw him drop a hand-rolled cigarette. From his hand? Yes. And what did you do then? I continued following him and grabbed him by the right arm and turned him around. What did you notice, if anything? At that time, he started asking why, what was wrong, and I immediately noticed that he was obviously intoxicated under the influence of PCP. his blank stare and the way he was speaking to me. He was obviously intoxicated. What did you do then? I placed him under arrest and took him to the back of the patrol car. What did you do then? Came back to the scene and picked up the hand-rolled cigarette and helped Officer Metcalf to conduct the arrest of the second individual. I'm holding in my hand a San Jose Police Department evidence envelope marked case number 60098. Officer Downing, date January 6, 1990. It contains a clear plastic strip and also small plastic baggie sealed with red tape and contains what appears to be a hand-rolled cigarette. I would ask if he marks Peoples 1 for identification. Be so marked as Peoples 1. I'm showing it to counsel. May I approach the witness? Certainly. Officer Downing, showing you what has been marked as Peoples 1 for identification. Do you recognize it? Yes, I do. How do you recognize it? This envelope is used by the San Jose Police Department for processing of narcotics at Central Supply. I did fill out this envelope and the writing on the stickers is mine. I also recognize the appearance of the hand-rolled cigarette that I put in basically by my handwriting. Is the hand-rolled cigarette in the same or substantially the same condition as it was when you first saw it? No. Later I opened the cigarette to see what was inside. And did you then re-roll the cigarette? No. When I opened it, I just made a slight incision. I didn't open it all the way, but it's in the same condition I put it in. It's the same condition it was in when you put it in the bag? Yes. Based on your training and experience, did you come to some opinion as to what was contained within Peoples 1? Yes. And what opinion is that? The hand-rolled cigarette has parsley leaves, which is commonly used in the processing or the manufacture of the PCP cigarette, and also in combination with parsley leaves, there were some crystals, a powdery substance. And did you come to some opinion as to what that substance was? Yes, I believe prior to conducting a chemical Valtox test, I believed it was phencyclidine. And does it constitute a usable quantity of phencyclidine? This constitutes more than a usable amount. 2 or 3 individuals can make use of this cigarette. I have no further questions at this time. Cross-examination, please. If I could have a moment, Your Honor. Officer, when you arrived at 2968 Betsy Way, was anyone other than Mr. Carr and the other person that you said was there present? I only saw them 2 at the time. So you only saw 2 people standing out in front of the residence? Yes. Officer, and did you prepare a report in connection with this incident? Yes, I did, ma'am. And when you prepared this report, did you include in it everything that you thought was significant about the incident? That is correct. You were trained at the academy, were you not? That it was important to prepare a complete report for your own purposes? Yes. And you were also trained, were you not, to prepare a report because the attorneys in the case would rely upon it. Is that right? That's correct. After you prepared it, did you read it over to assure its accuracy? Yes. And before testifying today, did you also review your report? I reviewed it briefly, yes. Is there anything about your report at this time that you feel is inaccurate? No, not to the best of my knowledge. Is there anything about your report that should be deleted at this time based on your recollection of the incident? Not to my knowledge. Is there anything that you would think needs to be added to your report that you recall now that wasn't included in the report at the time that you wrote it? It all depends on what issue you're going to bring about. Now, the report is written from my own recollection. There's items or situations that did occur that are in my memory that could not be on the report of less significance. Officer, I'm going to ask you to take a look at the first couple pages of your report, the one that says crime report in the upper left-hand corner of the page. You're talking about the first page or second page? Well, I'm talking about, I believe it's the first page. Yes. Did you prepare the first page of this report? No, I did not. In this particular page, I filled out the suspect's information. Officer Metcalf filled the item number 1 and item 15 and 16. I'm sorry, Officer Metcalf filled out item 15? Yes, okay. And he wrote out item 16 as well. Let me go over it again, okay. Officer Metcalf filled number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15, 16, item 42, item 43, item 47, and item 48. Okay. Officer, you lost me when you said item 42. Okay, I'm sorry. What word is in item 42? See report. Oh, I see. Down at the bottom of the page? Yes, And item 43. It also says see report and item 47. And where is item 47? Investigating officers Downing and Metcalf, all right. And item 48, did you fill in item 48? Yes, I did. And that lists suspect number 1? Yes. And suspect number 2? Yes. And suspect number 3, my apologies, on suspect number 2, that was filled out by Officer Metcalf. Okay, and on the second page of your report, there's another at the bottom of the page, yes, where it says listed in, that's correct. Says suspect number 4, that's correct. Who filled out that? That was filled out by Officer Metcalf. So you filled out suspect number 1 and suspect number 3 then, is that right? Yes, ma'am. And those were the only 2 people, suspect number 1 and suspect number 3, that you saw at the scene, is that right? No, I think Mr. Gallegos, number 2, I think is the one that was with Mr. Carr at the time. And where do you recall seeing suspect 3? I believe he was in the backyard. You don't recall at this time? No, there were several people that we made contact with after the initial contact with Mr. Carr. And that was due to the fact that there were several people that ran through the side of the residence. How many people would you say ran through the side of the residence? I don't know. Once I came back from placing him in the back of my patrol car and I was helping Officer Metcalf, I heard just a scuffle of people just running through the side of the house. But when you say him, you mean Mr. Carr? You mean after you placed him in the back of your patrol car? Yes, Your Honor. At any time, did you see anyone else in the front lawn area of the residence? Objection, vague as due time. Yes, so why don't you refine it a little bit? And before you place Mr. Carr under arrest, and after you arrived at 2968 Betsy Way, did you see anyone else other than Mr. Carr and the man that you said was with him in the front of the residence? No, ma'am. Officer Downing, can you tell me what the lighting conditions were in the front of the residence? Now, the front of the residence was well lit. There was a light in the front porch, a single porch light, I don't recall, but it was very well lit, ma'am. And do you recall seeing any street lights in the area? I believe there was one a little bit to the side of the residence, but I'm not sure. I just recall the area being well lit. And did you have your police vehicle lights on and focused on the front lawn area? Now, the car was facing westbound. Whatever light that originated from, the headlights might have covered a portion of that area. Did you have a spotlight focused on the front lawn area? No, I don't recall that. I don't think so. Did you have a flashlight? Were you using a flashlight to illuminate the front yard area? No, ma'am. When you approached Mr. Carr, you said he walked in an unsteady and slow manner, is that right? Yes. If I could just have one moment, Your Honor. When you followed Mr. Carr, did he continue to walk in an unsteady, slow manner that you previously described? Yes. How many steps did he take away from you? 1, when I got out of my patrol car, or after I told him to stop. When you got out of your patrol car, he must have walked up 10 to 15 feet. Is that 10 to 15 steps or 10 to 15 feet? 10 to 15 feet from the sighting of him. And then you got out of your police car? Yes. And he continued to walk away as you tried to approach him? Yes, ma'am. At what point did you tell him to stop? He had crossed the walkway. The lawn is separated by 2 lawns, or there's the first portion. He was walking across the walkway, the walkway to the front of the residence. Are you saying the front yard is divided by a walkway from the sidewalk to the front door? Right. You mean parkway? They call it the parkway strips in some places. From the sidewalk, from the front door, there's a little walkway. He was going across that area. So the yard is divided into 2 lawn areas then? Yes, and he had walked across one of the lawn areas and was walking across the sidewalk to the front door. No, he was walking westbound across, the house is facing north. Okay, so he was walking right across the little walkway, and that's where he dropped when did you tell him to stop? As I was getting out of my car or closing the door? Were you approaching him when you said you saw him drop something? I was still walking. We both were still both walking. Were you on his left or his right at that time? I was right behind him, ma'am. Now, from which hand did you see something drop? I saw it come from the left side of his body. And did you see his hand open? All I saw was the item being dropped, and I grabbed him and turned him around. So you saw the item fall? Yes. But where did the item land? It landed right next to the little walkway. Right after it landed, I was trying to handcuff him. He tried to step on it and tried to move, like scrub the PCP cigarette, like to destroy the type of thing. And then I pushed him away momentarily. Officer, do you recall if he tried to step on it with his left foot or his right foot? I don't recall exactly. I know I was trying to push him away from it. I don't recall which one it was. Did he step on it? Yes, he did. And did he manage to scrape it along the pavement? It wasn't on the pavement. Exactly where the cigarette had landed was the dirt area. Momentarily he did. You saw him scrape it along the ground. Yeah, the cigarette didn't dissolve or break apart. Did you then manage to handcuff him? Yes, I did. Did you at any time have to take out your baton? Yes, I did. And did you, in fact, use your baton in arresting Mr. Carr? I used it as a control device. Defense attorney. Before you placed Mr. Carr under arrest and after you arrived at 2968 Betsy Way, did you see anyone else other than Mr. Carr and the man that you said was with him in the front of the residence? No, ma'am. Officer Downey, can you tell me what the lighting conditions were in the front of the residence? The front of the residence was well lit. And there was a light on in the front porch. A single porch light? I don't recall, but it was very well light, ma'am. And do you recall seeing any street lights in the area? I believe there was one a little bit to the side of the residence, but I'm not sure. I just recall the area being well lit. And did you have your police vehicle lights on and focused on the front lawn area? The car was facing westbound. Whatever light that originated from the headlights might have covered a portion of that area. Did you have a spotlight focused on the front lawn area? No, I don't recall that. I don't think so. And did you have a flashlight? Were you using a flashlight to illuminate the front yard area? No, ma'am. When you approached Mr. Carr, you said he walked in an unsteady and slow manner, is that right? Yes. If I could just have one moment, Your Honor. When you followed Mr. Carr, did he continue to walk in an unsteady, slow manner that you previously described? Yes. How many steps did he take away from you? One, when I got out of my patrol car or after I told him to stop. When you got out of your patrol car, he must have walked up 10 to 15 feet. Is that 10 to 15 steps or 10 to 15 feet? 10 to 15 feet from the sighting of him. And then you got out of your police car? Yes. And he continued to walk away as you tried to approach him? Yes, ma'am. At what point did you tell him to stop? He had crossed the walkway. The lawn is separated by two lawns, or there's a first portion. He was walking across the walkway, or yeah, the walkway to the front of the residence. Are you saying the front yard is divided by a walkway from the sidewalk to the front door? Right. You mean parkway. They call it the parkway strips in some places. From the sidewalk, from the front door, there's a little walkway. He was going across that area. So the yard is divided into two lawn areas then? Yes. And he had walked across one of the lawn areas and was walking across the sidewalk to the front door? No. He was walking westbound across. The house was facing north. 225, 4 voids for 5 minutes. Ready? Starts with cross by defense. Mrs. Kane, you called it a .38 revolver? Yes. Are you familiar with guns? Yes, I am. You did recognize it as a .38? Yes, sir. Can you tell us the hairstyle of that person you saw on November 3? He had long black hair that was split down the middle. It was parted down the middle? It was parted down the middle. Okay. Was it slicked back or out in a kind of a free type haircut? It was split down the middle and out to the sides. I see. Did you see him walk out the back door? Yes, I did. Where were you standing when he walked out the back door? I was standing in the doorway of the back room. You were able to see the back door from where you were standing? No, I wasn't able to see the back door, but we saw him pass the bathroom window. I moved to strike the word we, only testify to what you yourself see or do. We will be stricken. So you saw him back pass the back window? Yes, I did. May I have just a minute, Your Honor? Did you notice what color shirt he was wearing, if any? It was a sweater type, long-sleeved shirt. It was, I guess you'd call it a burgundy, a red. I have no further questions. Mrs. Kane, what time did this person enter the establishment? It was approximately 2:30 in the afternoon. About 2:30? Yes. And do you know approximately what time he left? No, I don't. I was so shaken up to remember to look at the clock. And did you look at the clock when the person entered? I was just getting ready to leave to get something for lunch. And did you notice your watch? I noticed the clock on the wall. That's when this person came in? Yes. That was 2:30? Yes, it was. Mrs. Kane, you say you saw Mr. Walker through the bathroom window? Yes. And that would be the back portion of your company? Yes. Is there a parking lot back there? Yes, there is. Is that parking lot shared with Alliance Finance? Alliance Finance is down at the other half of the parking lot. Now you say there was a burgundy shirt worn by Mr. Walker. Do you think you could recognize it? Yes. Showing you people's one for identification. Would you examine this garment? That's it. And did you see what shoes he was wearing? No, I didn't. I have nothing further. I have nothing further. May this witness be excused? No objection. We have no objection. You're free to leave the courthouse. Next witness. May I have just a moment, Your Honor, to ascertain if the witness I had on call has arrived yet? Yes. Could we have a brief recess? We have two other witnesses on their way. We'll recess for approximately 10 minutes. Proceed with your next witness, Philip Fish. Step forward behind the reporter. Please have a seat and state your name for the record. Philip Fish, F-I-S-H. Your Honor, this witness will testify as to counts 5 and 6. Thank you. What is your occupation? Manager, Dial Finance Company. Where is that located? 131 East Roland, Covina. On November 3, 1972, were you so employed? Yes, I was. Were you in the premises on that date? Yes, I was. In the afternoon of November 3, 1972, did something unusual occur? Yes, it did. Well, where were you at the time that the unusual commenced to occur? I was at my office, sitting at my desk. What did you observe happen? A gentleman walked into the office. From which door? From the front door. This person was alone? Yes, he was. And did you observe what he did? He pulled a gun from underneath his shirt. What kind of a gun? The kind I don't know, black pistol. In other words, it was a handgun size? Yes. And what did he do after he pulled the gun from his person? Ordered everybody to get off the phone. And then what happened? Then he first said, okay, get off the phone. I don't want to hurt anybody. Where's your money? How far away from this person were you at the time this occurred? Approximately 15 feet. Is that person in the courtroom, sir? Yes, sir. Would you point him out? He's sitting over here in the white sweater. Now, the record will indicate that the witness has identified the defendant, Charles Frederick Walker. From here on in, we will refer to the defendant as Mr. Walker. Now, what time was it that he came into your place of business, Dial Finance? It was a few minutes after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, after he said the things you've testified to, then what happened? He ordered my cashier to come up to the counter where the money was and empty the money on the counter. Well, what cashier are you talking about? Judy Kane. What did she do? She walked to the counter and opened the cash drawers. How many cash drawers? 2. Did she remove anything from those cash drawers? She removed a money bag from one cash drawer and laid it on the counter. Did Mr. Walker pick it up? He picked it up, and did he say anything? He said, don't put that on the counter. Did this young lady, Judy, put any money on the counter from the cash drawers? I don't believe she did. Did you say Mr. Walker picked up any money? He removed all of the paper money from the cash drawers. 2 cash drawers, 2 cash drawers. What did he do with the money? He appeared to fold it and put it in his pocket. And did he take anything from your person, sir? Yes, he removed the paper cash from my wallet. Can you tell us how that occurred? After he had emptied the cash drawers in the front of the office, he walked back to my desk and told me to get on the floor, which I did. And did he have the gun in his hands at that time? Yes, he did. He then told me to empty my pockets onto the chair, which I did, also leaving my wallet sitting on the chair, at which time he opened it and removed my driver's license and all the paper cash I had. Okay, jury charge. We are now ready, ladies and gentlemen, for the last chapter in this case we have been hearing for the last couple of days. These instructions I am about to give you are to be considered by you as a whole. In other words, no single instruction is to be weighed apart from the context of all of the instructions. In civil cases such as this, the affirmative of the issue must be proven. The affirmative here is upon the plaintiff as to all affirmative allegations of the complaint. Upon the plaintiff, therefore, rests the burden of proof of such allegations. In civil cases, a preponderance of evidence is all that is required, and by a preponderance of evidence is meant such evidence as, when weighed with that opposed to it, has more convincing force. Evidence may be either direct or indirect. Direct evidence is that which proves a fact in dispute directly, without an inference or presumption, and which, in itself, if true, conclusively establishes the fact. Indirect evidence is that which tends to establish a fact in dispute by proving another fact which, though true, does not of itself conclusively establish the fact at issue, but which affords an inference or presumption of its existence. Indirect evidence is of two kinds, namely presumptions and inferences. A presumption is a deduction which the law expressly directs to be made from particular facts, such, for example, as the presumption that a witness speaks the truth, to which I shall refer a moment later. Unless declared by law to be conclusive, a presumption may be controverted by other evidence, direct or indirect, but unless so controverted, the jury is bound to decide in accordance with the presumption. An inference is a deduction which the reason of the jury draws from the facts proved. Let's try that one again. We are now ready, ladies and gentlemen, for the last chapter in this case we have been hearing for the last couple of days. These instructions I am about to give you are to be considered by you as a whole. In other words, no single instruction is to be weighed apart from the context of all of the instructions. In civil cases such as this, the affirmative of the issue must be proven. The affirmative here is upon the plaintiff as to all affirmative allegations of the complaint. Upon the plaintiff, therefore, rests the burden of proof of such allegations. In civil cases, a preponderance of evidence is all that is required, and by a preponderance of evidence is meant such evidence as, when weighed with that opposed to it, has more convincing force. Evidence may be either direct or indirect. Direct evidence is that which proves a fact in dispute directly without an inference or presumption, and which in itself, if true, conclusively establishes the fact. Indirect evidence is that which tends to establish a fact in dispute by proving another fact which, though true, does not of itself conclusively establish the fact at issue, but which affords an inference or presumption of its existence. Indirect evidence is of two kinds, namely presumptions and inferences. A presumption is a deduction which the law expressly directs to be made from particular facts, such, for example, as the presumption that a witness speaks the truth, to which I shall refer a moment later. Unless declared by law to be conclusive, a presumption may be controverted by other evidence, direct or indirect. But unless so controverted, the jury is bound to decide in accordance with the presumption. An inference is a deduction which the reason of the jury draws from the facts proved.